guys, well, it's Friday, so we're almost to Thanksgiving break. You guys are going to have a break for a whole week. Won't have to listen to me talk for a whole week. Good for you, right? I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving break. I hope you have a lot of food and you enjoy time with your family and you just get away from school for a little bit and rest. That's the important thing. Okay, so we are going to be talking about valence electrons, okay? The last filled principal energy level is called the valence level or valence shell. What that means is when you are writing those abbreviated electron configurations that we just covered on Thursday or Wednesday and Thursday, and you guys just finished that worksheet, when you were writing that noble gas configuration and you just showed that last level, right? That is your valence level. Now, what you have to remember is when you're doing valence electrons, it's always the outermost shell. So when we talk about the highest energy level, it's going to get a little tricky if we're doing elements that are located in D and F, okay? Because D and F actually, when you write their configurations, they're actually a row behind. So if you look in D, remember we wrote, like if we were in row 4, we'd write 4s2, and then we would write 3d. Remember, it's always a level behind. It's a row behind. So when you're looking at doing valence electrons, that 4s2 is going to take priority over 3d. So when you do valence electrons, you can actually break the periodic table up into 8 columns, okay? So when you're counting valence electrons, okay, the valence level contains electrons that are in the highest in energy and occupy orbitals that extend further from the nucleus than those in the lower levels, okay? So valence electrons occupy orbitals in that valence shell. So Ms. Bunch is going to hold up a periodic table and she's going to show you that column 1 on the periodic table would have 1 valence electron. Column 2 would have 2 valence electrons. And then that middle section, the D sublevel, that middle section, that does not count for valence electrons. So in essence, it's like you're extending column 2 all the way over till you get to the very first column in the P sublevel, okay? Once you hit the first column in the P sublevel, that's going to be 3 valence electrons. Then you go 4, 5, 6, 7, and the very last column in the P sublevel is going to be 8 valence electrons. The most you can have for valence electrons is 8. Once you fill that outermost shell of 8, the atom is full. You can't put any in there. So D and F are actually considered as inner electrons inside. Kind of like we look at a person, we see the external, right? We see your facial features and your external. We don't see the internal part, even though you're made up of more than just your external body, your skin and your hair and things like that. We do have internal organs. So it's kind of the same thing with electrons. They have an inner electrons closer to the shell, and then you have your outer electrons, which is the external part, okay? Now, we're going to show you how to do these valence electrons, okay? So, you're going to determine the number of valence electrons and the dot structure, okay, in each of the following elements. So I'm going to come over here to the board and I'm going to draw these out for you. So the very first one we're going to do is fluorine, okay? Ms. Bunch is going to show you where fluorine is located on the periodic table. Now, if I start counting from left to right in row 2, starting with lithium, I'm going to go 1, 2, then go over to the P sublevel, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then stop at 7, right? So what that means is fluorine has 7 valence electrons, okay, and 7 dots. Now, how do we draw the dots? So fluorine, okay, kind of look at it like a box, okay? So like a square in math, like this. Think of fluorine being in a square, in a box. You don't have to draw the box, just think of it. Now, when I draw my dots, I'm going to draw the number of valence electrons as dots, okay, as dots around the fluorine. So I'm going to start at the top. You don't have to start at the top, but that's just the way I do it because it's easier. So I start at the very top and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, Okay, I have no more spots. So what do? I double them up. 5, 6, and I stop at 7, right? So that would be 7 valence electrons. All right, so let's look at the next one, B. That would be silicon, okay? Now, silicon is located in the 3rd row. So let's start from left to right and go, sodium would be 1, magnesium's 2, aluminum is 3, silicon would be 4, right? If you're counting over. So that means that silicon would have 4 outer electrons, okay? Now I'm going to draw the SI, and I'm going to draw my outer electrons. So starting at the top, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I would stop because I have 4 valence electrons. Next one is PB, okay? Okay, PB is located in 6th row, okay? So starting at left at cesium, I'm going to go 1, 2. Remember, you skip that whole middle section because D is always a level behind. Then when I get to thallium, I'm going to start at 3, and then lead would be what? 4, right? PB would be 4. So I write PB, 4 electrons, and I draw my dot structure, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Now D is going to be carbon. Carbon is in row 2, so starting from the left, I start with lithium, and I go 1, 2 to beryllium. Boron would be 3, carbon would be 4. So carbon also has 4 valence electrons. Are you starting to see a trend? If they're in the same column, they're going to have the same number of valence electrons. Okay, so I draw carbon, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, same way I did PB and same way I did silicon. Okay, now I'm going to go over to letter E, which is lithium. Okay, Li. I go to row 2, and guess what? It's the very first one in row 2. So lithium has 1 valence electron. Okay, so now I'm going to draw Li, and I'm just going to put 1 dot right there. Okay, then the last one here is sodium. And what do I notice about sodium? Oh, looky there. It's in the same column as lithium. So guess how many valence electrons it's going to have? 1. Okay, 1 valence electron. So I draw sodium, and then I put 1 valence electron. Okay? So, for your Friday assignment, you guys are going to have 2 worksheets. I just broke them up into 2. I probably could have put them on the same assignment, but they're very easy. The first one, you're just going to list the number of valence electrons. So you're just going to write how many valence electrons each of those elements have. The second page, you're going to draw a dot structure, okay, which is like the one I drew on the board. So you're just going to write the symbol, and then you're going to put the number of valence electrons as dots around the symbol, okay, just like I showed you in the video. All right, hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Look forward to seeing you after Thanksgiving. Get a week off. Miss Bunch is going to wave to you through the camera so you see her. Say, hey, Miss Bunch. All right, and we'll see you guys when we get back.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.